Previously, we learned that eyes don't see. Well then, how does a person see? And see what? An eye, like a camera, captures data from the light that enters it and in turn sends an organized form of data via the neuroelectrical signals to the brain. Let's compare a camera that feeds data to a computer processor with an eye that feeds data to a brain. The light-sensitive photoreceptors in an eye are analogous to the light-sensitive CCDs in a digital camera. When the CCDs in a camera are stimulated by light, they send electrical signals to the computer processor, specifically to the video card of the computer where the optical data is processed. When the photoreceptors in the eye are stimulated by light, they send neuroelectrical signals to the brain, wherein the visual cortex, which is the video card of the brain, processes the visual data. What happens when the data is processed by the subject's brain? Does the subject then see the real object? No, of course not. The subject can never see the real object. It's not possible. Firstly, even though the eye has contact with real light, the eye itself cannot see as such. That is to say, that the subject's vision consciousness does not emanate in the subject's eyes. Any sensory consciousness that the subject experiences emanates from the subject's brain. But where is the brain located? Inside a skull. Being encased inside a skull, the brain does not have direct contact with the real world outside the skull. The brain cannot directly even know of a real object that is outside the skull, let alone see it. Even the real light that enters the eyes never goes to the brain. Rather, the neurons in the eyes capture the relative data and send their own form of neuroelectrical signals to the brain. Hence, if the brain has no direct contact with the real world outside, it cannot possibly experience the real world. Actually, a person does not consciously experience the real world at all through any of the senses. Well then, what is the nature of the world we experience? For instance, what is the nature of the three-dimensional world a person sees in vision consciousness? What we need to understand is what the brain does after it processes the data. The answer becomes obvious when we analyze this using the analogy of a computer video system. The computer processor processes the data and in turn creates an output. The output from the computer processor is generated in a display instrument, namely the computer monitor, in which the so-called image is manifested. Let's compare this with our vision system. Upon processing the data, just as a computer processor generates an output, a person's brain generates the very stuff the person experiences. In vision, the brain generates a visual image. The human brain generates a dynamic three-dimensional visual image that appears like a bright chromatic physical world. However, it is a virtual reality phenomenon. By design, for all practical purposes, the visual image is made to appear as though it were the real world outside the skull. That is but a magnificent illusion. The illusion is a functional necessity for the living organism to interact with the real world that shall never be directly experienced. The world you experience comprises your mind. Your mind, by definition, is anything and everything you experience at the given moment. In other words, the physical world, your thoughts, feelings, emotions, imaginations, memories, dreams, anything and everything that you consciously experience is generated by your own brain and is manifested in the realm of your mind. Well, is the realm of the mind same as the realm of the brain?